Welcome everyone to the Tiger Talk podcast. I am your founder and host, Alex. We have a lot to get into today with massive breaking news last night that Blake Baker is staying at LSU. Let's get into it. Alrighty, everyone, welcome to the Tiger Talk podcast. I am your host, Alex. Let's get into it. Guys, last night was massive breaking news as Blake Baker has decided to stay with LSU. Guys, the defense was the hinge of which the whole staff building process spun. Would Lane Kiffin, the offensive guru, clean house on defense and bring in his own guy, perhaps a familiar name, or would he recognize the value where it stood? And I think that question was from a lot of outside media, but a lot of local media in Baton Rouge, and if you're an LSU fan, clearly knew that, guys, Lane Kiffin had so much respect for Blake Baker. And the most critical piece of the puzzle was defensive coordinator Blake Baker. He had one foot out the door. His alma mater Tulane came calling with a head coaching offer, and it was his opportunity and a logical, respected, and deserved move for a coach who, in his second year, completely transformed LSU's defense. In his second year, lifting it from the bottom of the SEC to a top 20 unit. And I said in a previous episode, I really thank Blake Baker for everything he's done. I was under the impression that he was going to go to Tulane. You had Memphis call him. I was truly under the impression that he was gone. But then late last night, the drama ended with a 3-word post from Lane himself saying, Blake Baker is going nowhere. That right there is the first definitive, monumental victory of the Kiffin era, in my personal opinion. Not a recruit, not an assistant he brought with him. It was a coach he retained. By keeping Blake Baker, Kiffin didn't just stabilize the defense, he validated it. He kept the architect of a rising unit, an elite recruiter, and most importantly, a coach with deep roots within the state. And I just think that can't be stressed enough, to be honest with you. Truly, truly just monumental with Blake Baker having to choose to stay. So what does it all mean? It means the Lane Kiffin area is officially dual threat. It's the highest powered offense money can buy, combined with a defense led by one of the game's brightest young minds. We have the full up-to-date picture now. The staff is set, the class is signed, and the rebuild is on. And I truly believe starting next month in January, you're really going to see a much more, I use the word refined, you're going to see a much more elite transfers also come in. So Blake Baker's blockbuster retention examines the high-octane hire of Charles Weiss Jr. at OC, and analysts the other key players Lane Kiffin is bringing into his new kingdom in the Bayou. Absolutely just an incredible news. And like I said, the LSU fan in me wanted Blake Baker to stay. The professional in me completely understood if he went to go to those other jobs. So guys, let's get into it. So with Blake Baker staying, it is so critical as a stabilizing factor for LSU's 2026 recruiting class, especially on the defensive side of the ball, helping to secure key commits amidst the head coaching transition to Lane Kiffin. Impact on the recruiting class. Number 1, retention of elite defensive commits. The most significant impact is the stabilization of LSU's top defensive pledges, many of whom were reportedly holding off their early signing period decision as they awaited clarity on the coaching staff. Baker's return directly addresses their concern. Lamar Brown, the number one overall prospect, has been committed since July. His commitment was considered quote unquote up in the air just days before signing. But securing his signature, along with the confirmation of Baker's return, guys, on the same night, it was a massive win for the new Kiffin era, largely credited to Baker's continued presence and recruiting work. Richard Anderson, a five-star defensive lineman, a top 25 prospect. Anderson was another highly rated defensive commit who signed with LSU. Deuce Gerald, my personal favorite. I cannot wait to see him play. A top 50 defensive lineman who had late interest from schools like Ole Miss and Georgia Tech. Gerald's ultimately signed with LSU, citing the certainty of the program's direction and his long-standing desire to be a Tiger. Trenton Henderson for the edge, an out-of-state edge rusher who also signed after a late push from other programs, bringing his speed and athleticism to the class. Baker's retention allowed LSU to successfully close out commitments from its elite defensive line prospects, forming a strong core for future defenses. Number 2, staff continuity and recruiting cohesion. Again, staff continuity and recruiting cohesion. Baker has strong Louisiana recruiting ties, guys, period, and a history of working well with the defensive assistants, such as cornerbacks coach Corey Raymond. By keeping Baker, Lane Kiffin ensures familiarity for local recruits. Recruits from the talent-rich Louisiana pipeline have a familiar, proven coordinator who has shown commitment to the program, easing concerns about a full defensive staff overhaul. And I just think that is so imperative, that is so crucial. If I'm one of these kids, everyone loves familiarity. You'll be lying if you said you didn't. And if I'm a kid and I was recruited by Blake Baker or his assistants, and then it's kind of up in the air, is he going to be there, is he not? With not having that familiarity, I would probably think twice about signing. And I don't blame those kids that did. I really don't, because they were so familiar with Blake Baker and his assistants. Cohesive defensive message. The defensive staff can continue to preach the same aggressive, turnover-forcing philosophy that led to LSU's defense improvement over the last 2 seasons, maintaining a constant message to recruits. Number 3, early momentum for the Kiffin era. Lane Kiffin made retaining Baker a top priority, which was an immediate and strong statement to the college football world and, more importantly, to recruits. Guys, I can't underestimate the fact when LSU hired Lane Kiffin, got Lane Kiffin, it already put shockwaves and a notice on not just every school in the SEC, but in my personal opinion, every school in the country. And now that Blake Baker is coming back, and also the legend Corey Raymond himself, this just put more notice on all these other schools across the nation. Securing Baker's return essentially locked in the defensive half of the recruiting class during the critical early signing period, preventing potential decommitments or flips that often accompany a head coaching change. This strategic move allowed Kiffin to focus on assembling his offensive staff while knowing the defense was secured under a provably highly paid assistant. The retention of Blake Baker means Lane Kiffin was able to finalize an incredible start to his first LSU class without the massive headache of scrambling for a new defensive coordinator and salvaging a defensive class as discussed. Lane Kiffin has moved with remarkable speed to fill out the majority of his coaching staff at LSU, primarily by bringing key longtime lieutenants from Ole Miss and strategically retaining the core of the successful defensive staff. So let's just kind of quickly go through the most up-to-date staff under Kiffin. Offensive staff. Kiffin has secured his entire offensive brain trust from Ole Miss, establishing immediately continuity and familiarity on this side of the ball, which is huge. Your OC, your offensive coordinator, Charlie Weiss Jr. Ole Miss offensive coordinator, he is Kiffin's longtime play caller. Quarterbacks. Dan Stevens, Ole Miss senior analyst, a young voice with a strong developmental background. Co-OC and tight ends, Joe Cox, Ole Miss co-OC tight end coach, followed Kiffin from Ole Miss. Wide receivers, George McDonald. Secured an experienced passing game coordinator. Inside receivers, Sawyer Jordan. He is a analyst. Offensive line, Eric Wolford, Kentucky offensive line coach, a veteran SEC offensive line coach with previous stops at Alabama and South Carolina. Running backs. Currently it is vacant. This is one of the final on-field vacancies. The previous coach, Frank Wilson, is coaching in the bowl game. Just want to take, guys, to let you know some notes on Charlie Weiss Jr. Although he accepted the LSU OC role, Kiffin is allowing him to coach at Ole Miss in their college football playoff game. Wise is expected to join LSU full-time once Ole Miss season is complete. Emphasis on expected. I truly believe he will come back. I know I wouldn't be ignorant to the fact for Ole Miss having conversations with him behind closed doors to make a heavy push to retain him, but I do believe he'll be back in Baton Rouge. Defensive staff, strategic retention, and key hire. The most crucial moves were retaining defensive coordinator Blake Baker and securing continuity with the defensive backs coach. Excuse me, guys. Defensive coordinator Blake Baker retained. His retention is seen as the biggest win for staff stability, which I can't stress that enough. Cornerbacks coach Corey Raymond retained, a highly regarded recruiter with deep Louisiana ties. Safeties Jake Olson retained, followed Raymond in the retention effort. Defensive line Elijah Robinson, Syracuse defensive coordinator, a highly respected defensive line coach and recruiter, brought in to strengthen the front. Edge rushers Kevin Peoples retained, followed Baker and Raymond in the retention efforts. Linebackers vacant. The linebackers position coach remains one of the final on-field vacancies. Kiffin also brought key support roles from Ole Miss to handle the off-field operations and recruiting. You have your head strength and conditioning coach, Nick Savage, with, in general, a name like Nick Savage. I am so interested to see how he works with LSU. In my personal opinion, this is just my personal opinion, outside of the hiring of a head coach, the second most important coach position, in my personal opinion, is the strength and conditioning coach. And Nick Savage came and followed Lane Kiffin and company from Ole Miss. General manager Billy Glasscock, again, Austin Thomas has parted ways with LSU and vice versa. Listen, I'll try not to let emotions get into all of this. From the moment that it was official and Lane Kiffin landed in Baton Rouge, I said, in Lane Kiffin I trust. In Lane I trust. And I do like Austin Thomas. I do believe Austin Thomas is going to be an NFL GM. I would personally love to see Austin Thomas be a GM for the New Orleans Saints, but that is probably me living a dream somewhere up in Cloud 9 and it will never happen. But what will probably happen is Austin Thomas being a GM in the NFL. He has such a great mind for it. He is so gifted for that position. He did some great things at LSU. And my emotion says I don't want Austin Thomas to leave, but I go back to the slogan that I kept for myself. And Lane Kiffin I trust. And Lane Kiffin wants Billy Glasscock at Ole Miss, then so be it. Director of Recruiting, Dwight Wilson. He also followed Kiffin and company from Ole Miss. Defensive analyst and possible linebacker role, Chris Kiffin, Lane's brother at Ole Miss, who was an analyst. I'm really interested to see Chris Kiffin, Lane's brother, what role he will fill at LSU. The staff is nearly finalized, guys, showing Kiffin's intent to hit the ground running with a blend of proven defensive coordinators and the successful offensive structure he utilized at Ole Miss. So, with that being said, things are coming together. And you can see swiftly, quickly, the vision that Lane has with his staff coming together and etc. And I'm excited. Keeping Blake Baker, keeping Corey Raymond is just massive. Cannot be understated. And I'm excited. I am. I truly am. And the word that I like to use is going into January. Now with the staff almost finalized, is the vision that Lane Kiffin has, the vision Blake Baker has, the vision Lane Kiffin's staff has, is going to be much more clear, much more redefined. And with Blake Baker coming back, Corey Raymond, Lane Kiffin has the offensive side of the ball, Blake Baker and company has the defensive side of the ball. Talk about an absolute dual threat. I cannot emphasize that enough. Talk about an absolute dual threat when you are going into that transfer portal in January and you're getting recruits to come down to Baton Rouge. If I'm a recruit and I see that things are rolling like they are for LSU right now in Baton Rouge, it would be asinine to not want to sign the dotted line and play for LSU. And to think this is just the beginning. Early signing day, guys, Lane Kiffin did not have months, let alone weeks, to prepare for it. He had hours and days. And look how successful the early signing period went. And it went as successful as I think it could have been. And again, things were still being weighed out. Is Blake Baker coming back, etc.? You had Tulane last night win their conference championship game, and then boom, it was breaking news. Blake Baker's coming back. Corey Raymond's coming back. Massive dual threat. You now have the confidence. If you're Lane Kiffin and company, you have the confidence, high confidence, to hit that transfer portal. And the national media can say whatever they want to say, but LSU is truly getting started. And just the night and day difference. The night and day difference. And I'm not here, this is not going to be a slandering Brian Kelly podcast, because I truly did, and I truly do think he did some good at the very, very start. Brian Kelly is a CEO type manager coach. And I think that was needed for the very, very beginning. But after that, he truly, I believe, got lazy. I think with Scott Woodward meddling, I think his hands were tied maybe in some positions. But still, you have all the tools and the resources, the best in the country, and you still didn't. You could not pass the 10-game win streak. You couldn't. And I want to go back to what Tingle and Company said. Tingle and Co. said in their podcast. I have it right here. And I quote them. They said, "Why did Lane Kiffin come to LSU? Well, he just signed more 5 stars in 5 days at LSU than he did in 6 years at Ole Miss. And guys, I truly think that capitalizes it all. And now you're going into the confidence. Now you're going into the transfer portal, getting ready in January. Now you can kind of sit back and breathe and be like, you know what? I have my staff solidified, and you just need a couple more hires to solidify it all and go out there full force. And the night and day difference. Lane does do a lot of tweets on X. I still call it Twitter. How I know this man's working? Because the timestamp of it. This man's up at like 4:35 in the morning. I mean, talk about hit the ground running. And with Brian Kelly, you had him at press conferences calling out the fan base of being spoiled. There's been some reports from extremely credible, veteran, seasoned media members in LSU who have physically seen Brian Kelly on a game day not leave his house until lunchtime. Brian Kelly had all the resources. And maybe, yes, he was limited because Scott Woodward wanted to meddle and whatever it may be. But regardless of that, you had the keys to the Ferrari. You had the keys to the Cathedral College football. And Brian Kelly got lazy. He thought he could ride things off to the sunset. And you just look at how we played, and credit to the players, came out swinging the first half against Texas A&M, but how badly we got beat by Texas A&M. And it'll come to pass, I am sorry, that is my co-host in the background, Dallas. It will come to pass to say that the way Texas A&M beat us is the best thing to happen for LSU fans. And that is my co-host, Dallas. He is one of my cats. He agrees with everything. He's just saying, go Tigers. But unbelievable. And I saw someone post on social media, they said, we actually have a head coach that wants to work. I mean, guys, that's all us LSU fans want. That's all the boosters want. That's all the AD wants. That's all the, even heck, the governor wants. That's all the board of supervisors want. A man that understands the culture, understands the tradition of LSU, understands the absolute sacredness, understands the brand. Guys, Lane Kiffin said it himself. To recruit to come to LSU, that's not necessarily going to be hard, because you take those three letters, LSU, combined with the brand, combined with the resources, it sells itself. But you needed a head coach that will truly work it. I look at it as like a muscle. To truly see the results, you have to work out. And Brian Kelly just got lazy. And it wasn't just the fans that saw it. You had seasoned media members who were on campus that saw it. And I believe it showed. I truly did. And national media is so annoyed with Lane Kiffin. Spare me with this double standard BS, okay? You can get so mad at Lane Kiffin for leaving, for taking a better opportunity, when we all know every single national media member has done the same, because how did they get in the seat that they're sitting in the first place? And second, why don't you have that same rhetoric with John Summerall? And I personally have nothing against John Summerall. I love him. I wish he would stay at Tulane, but I don't blame him for making the best decision for his family and his professional career and go be a head coach at Florida. I think he's going to do a great job there. But my gosh, I hate Florida. I wish he could go to any other school but Florida. And you also look at today, as of December 6th, you look at Coach Huff for Southern Miss, who just got there. It's being finalized, a contract for him to be a coach at Memphis. So spare me, national media, with this double standard BS. Spare me, national media, that, they want to make LSU the villain. Okay, well, you know what? Us LSU fans, we're going to embrace it. We are behind our head coach, not just Lane Kiffin. We are behind Kim Mulkey. We are behind Jay Johnson. We are behind our AD, Verge Osbury. We are behind our president, Wade Roos. We are behind Jay Clark, LSU women's gymnastics coach, who brought home a national championship. LSU fans are behind winners. That's the culture fit for LSU. Period. So, national media wants to make us out as villains. We fully embrace the villain role. But to national media members, to quote-unquote outsiders, if you are not informed, if you're not a die-hard LSU fan, I'm not just talking about football, but all sports. If you don't understand the culture, if you don't know what it means, you clearly don't know what it means by the way that y'all talk on the national stage. And I would encourage every national media member, every other conference media member outside of the SEC, or even within the SEC, please keep that same tone. Please keep that same vernacular. Please keep singing that same tune, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when LSU starts winning, when you see the guys, the dogs that we're going to get in the transfer portal, and when you see the success of Lane Kiffin and LSU football, please keep saying this same rhetoric that you're absolutely doing right now in dragging this man in the mud and his family and dragging LSU. Please keep that same tone. And number 2, I am a Christian first before anything. But when you, on a national stage, these media members are mocking prayer, you're mocking that Lane Kiffin prayed about a decision. Well, newsflash, as Christians, we do rely on prayer when we have tough decisions to make. And prayer isn't just for tough decisions to make, but that is one avenue of prayer. You can use prayer and pray to Jesus if you're feeling conflicted. And you can attack the man, but then it's another whole thing when you attack his faith. So what I have to say to that, believe me, he hears it. And yes, he was supposed to be on College Game Day today. And to all the people saying that Lane backed out, Lane was scared, no, he's literally working his butt off. He's literally worked to keep Blake Baker and now Corey Raymond and etc. He is working. So y'all keep singing this same tune. And to say that y'all are unbiased is an absolute slap in the face. Because clearly y'all are not. Y'all have such a hatred towards LSU. I saw this same hatred when LSU women's basketball was winning under Angel Reese and company, Kim Mulkey and company, and the year LSU women's basketball won their first national championship. So please spare me with this. And you know what? Everything is bookmarked. And I'm not the one to be petty and bring out all the receipts, because there's other bigger LSU media that has already done that and will continue to do that, and I will just sit back and laugh and eat popcorn. But please, national media members, keep that same tone, because it's awful. It truly is. But with that being said, dual threat. If I can summarize it all, LSU under Lane Kiffin, LSU keeping Blake Baker, LSU is now dual threat. And guys, I have not been this excited in anticipation for LSU football season, I would say, ever. A lot of people listen to words, but fruit speaks for itself. Actions, results speak for themselves. You can have someone say, listen, they hit the gym 7 days a week, work 2 hours straight. They can have a lot of talk, but if they don't actually do it, their talk is worthless. And yes, there's parts of Lane Kiffin that's a troll and all of that. But this man is working. This man got the keys to the cathedral of college football, understood the assignment. Something that Brian Kelly did not. Every time Brian Kelly spoke, it was such a, in my point of view, just political jargon. He did not understand the assignment. Lane Kiffin understands the assignment, and he is, I'm assuming, keeping bookmarks. I would if I was him. In national media and etc. will have to eat their words next year, truly. And yes, Lane Kiffin, as LSU's head coach, will win a national championship, and I believe he could win more if he stays. Will he win a national championship next year? I don't think so, but because that's not where my focus is at. Can we just win 10 games and get to a playoff? But I think the chances of that have gone up much higher knowing that we have retained Blake Baker. And man, I'm so excited for those guys in the locker room. I'm so excited for Lamar Brown. I'm so excited for these guys that committed on early signing day, and it all worked out. I'm truly excited. Like my dad said, it's a great day to be a Tiger. It truly is. And what a massive retention under this Lane Kiffin era. Alright guys, until next time, all my links will be in the description below. Follow me on X and all my social media links. Guys, I also have my own clothing brand called SEC 316. And what is that? SEC 316 combines two of my favorite passions. Number one, my passion for Jesus Christ and seeing souls get saved in the verse John 3:16. Number two, the SEC, specifically LSU. SEC 316 has all 16 SEC teams on there, not just LSU. We have all SEC teams on there. So if you're not an LSU fan, you are still more than welcome. I will put a discount code in the description below. Y'all get over there and y'all get some merch. Again, every sale equals a soul. What does that mean? That means every single proceed from the sale, it doesn't go back to me, guys. It does not go back to me for personal gain. It actually goes back to ministries to make sure and to help fund the Great Commission, the preaching of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and seeing souls get saved, seeing people's lives get transformed by the power of Jesus Christ. So I'm super excited. All the links will be in the description below. Guys, follow me on YouTube. hit the like and subscribe. Download this podcast. You can get the Tiger Talk podcast wherever podcasts are available, Spotify, Apple, etc. Follow me on YouTube. Everything will be in the links below. Also, all links will also be on all my social media platforms. I am the most active on X, I still call it Twitter, and all my links will also be posted there below. Guys, give this show a follow. Give this show a encourage others to follow, especially to my guys out there. If you have girlfriends, if you have wives, whatever, let them listen to this. Maybe they drown you out. You may be talking to them until you get blue in the face, but maybe if they hear just from another lady, the light bulb may come on. Guys, I'm just an LSU fan. I'm a passionate LSU fan. That's why I made this podcast, because I'm just an LSU fan. Yes, I'm a lady, but just because you're a lady doesn't mean you have to be ignorant to sports. I'm a passionate LSU fan. I'm a passionate outdoorsman. I love to go fishing, camping, and etc. So I just have a good old time, and I'm going to have a good old time when LSU kicks off their season against Clemson. Clemson coming to the Real Death Valley. Lord willing, I will be there, and my dad, and I think just about the whole state's going to be back on campus too, and I'm excited. Guys, this is huge. I can't wait. Thank you so much for listening. Like, share, download this podcast, Tiger Talk Podcast, where all podcasts are available. Follow me on YouTube. And until next time, go Tigers.